So on day 3, we packed up camp from under the first doline, hiked through it, got to do that famous wedding cake stalagmite formation, which is beautiful. Even got some pictures of some sunbeams coming through the first doline, which you'll see. Went through a big section of Doong, and then came upon the second doline, which I was stunned by the first one, but the second one just blew me away. It is this massive hole in the ceiling, this jungle forest with banana trees, and this whole ecosystem basically formed underneath this doline. Anyway, it was super cool to go through that, and we made camp on the other side, so check it out. All right, so just got up from campsite 2. This is day 3. You can still see the first doline here behind me. Today I'm pretty excited because they told us today is going to be a dry day, so that means no river crossings. Hopefully we get to keep dry feet all day. Don't have to worry about leeches. They said today is probably the most visually stunning today, so I can't even imagine what it's going to be like considering where we've been already. But yeah, super excited. And now we are basically directly under the first doline. Stopping for pictures at this, we call it the 007 hole, is what our guide told us. It's basically like a barrel hole through the rock. I'm assuming it's called the 007 hole because it looks like the gun barrel shot in every James Bond movie. One thing I have to say is like all the rocks we're climbing over and everything, you just see so many different types. Really, really cool to just walk over boulders the size of, houses, where you could imagine that being in somebody's kitchen countertop somewhere. All right, we've just gone through the underground portion, and now we are directly under the first doline. It is one of the most amazing and beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. The scenery is a bit ridiculous because you have to remind yourself you're in a cave right now, but there's all sorts of trees and bushes, you hear birds singing, bugs, beetles flying around. It's very, very strange. At our 4th stop of the day. We've been hiking for 2 hours and it feels like we've just covered a ton of ground, but if you can see way down there, that's where our campsite was this morning that we came from. As the crow flies, probably about 1 kilometer away, but yeah, 2 hours minimum by foot. So it's just crazy the distances in here. It's really hard to judge. Our next photo shoot is that pedestal looking thing over there. It's called Wedding Cake. Okay, we're here at the famous wedding cake pedestal. My teammate Rick is getting his picture taken. My turn next. We're on the other side of the first doline at our lunch stop, and we just got sunbeams through the doline for the first time, and it just looks absolutely stunning. Look at this. It's kind of funny, as we're going through the cave here, we'll go through sections where there's water dripping from the ceiling every second or so, and it's almost like a Indiana Jones course or something, trying to get through without getting the water on your head, but sometimes you get wet, sometimes you don't. Alright, after a short hike from the first doline, we've now arrived at the second doline. You take a look here at this giant arch, you'll see some tiny little people walking up the walkway down there.
Yeah.
So we're just now entering the second doline, and I think we're going into the lost world. Just made it up into the second doline. This place just feels like a land lost to time. Alright, so we finally made it through the jungle in the second doline, and now getting a look at our campsite for tonight, and it's way down there. The guide just told us that it's been voted by Nature Magazine as one of the most beautiful campsites in the world, maybe the most beautiful campsite in the world, which I don't doubt, because this is the view you have to look up at. It's hard for me to look away. It's just a beautiful, beautiful spot. I'm going to turn it around and show you what it looks like right where I'm standing. So we've set up our camp here at the exit of the second doline in Doong. Just been watching the colors change through the doline itself as the sun sets on the outside. You kind of forget you're in a cave because it's so massive. We've been underground now for, yeah, probably 36 hours, but it doesn't seem like it because the spaces are so huge. I started thinking last night, trying to compare it to other natural sites I've seen, but I think after today it surpasses everything I've ever done before. This is by far the most stunning natural site I've ever seen. Volcanoes in Guatemala erupting, pretty cool. Northern Lights in Iceland, stunning. But this is just something else entirely, and I can't adequately describe what it's like to be here. You just have to see it for yourself. So this campsite is really cool, obviously, but one thing about it that sucks is that the whole ground is covered in this limestone dust, which gets everywhere. And it's worse than sand at the beach, because if it gets a little bit wet, it just cakes on everything. So it's been kind of a pain to get out of your shoes and get off my GoPro lens and stuff like that. But the only bad thing about this campsite, though. One more thing I forgot to mention is that our caving guide, our cave expert, super interesting guy, got tons of stories. He's been doing this for years, and actually he was one of the 5 original British caving explorers that came with Ho Con, the Vietnamese guy who discovered it, and actually explored this cave for the first time. And as far as they know, it was the first time any human had been in it, like that far inside this cave. So it's really cool to have him as our guide. I mean, obviously a privilege and an honor to be able to pick his brain and get what it was like for him to experience this for the first time 10 years ago.